Oh, another week. I got Brody behind the camera because we were catching him today, weren't we, Brody?
Yeah.
You just want to be the producer of this video today, don't you?
Yeah.
He says, what up? Because he was catching big bluegills. All right, another week. We are now on September 1st. That is crazy to think. Where did the summer go? Brody, you ready to go back to school on Tuesday?
No.
Brody gets to go back to school on Tuesday. Brody's going into 6th grade.
Yeah.
Callie's in 4th grade. Ben's in 8th grade. Jack's in 11th grade. What happened today, Brody? What happened to Ben?
He caught 2 personal bass fish.
Ben caught 2 PBs today. He got his PB Smallie and he got his PB Pike today. That was super fun. We were going to go to the cabin this weekend. We didn't. We decided to stay home. A lot of things happening at once. Got pretty hectic. Life throws curveballs. It gets crazy. Guess what? When you get lemons, what do? You make lemonade, right, Brody? Sounds good. You like lemonade?
Yeah.
Perfect. We had a busy week, a great week. It was on and off warm. It was on and off cool. It was actually, I don't know exactly in terms of weather trends how it compares to an average the last week of August, but it felt kind of cool. We had some mornings where we started off in hooded sweatshirts. I know today we had hoodies on, didn't we, Brody? It was cold when we were ripping out to our first spot. Water temps dropped into the 72 to 75 degree surface temp. That's what we saw. We chased smallmouth today. We chased largemouth. We chased walleyes. We chased pike. That was kind of the whole week, minus the smallmouth. Today, we went fun fishing. And for me, fun fishing consisted of trying to catch a brown bass. We caught some good ones. I don't know, Brody, we caught a bunch over 4 pounds.
Yeah.
We didn't get any true 5-pounders, but we caught some nice ones. We had a good time. I'm going to show you something on how we caught these fish. Generally speaking, all week long, we caught fish on the weed line. We were talking with some other guides about how these fish actually move deeper as the water temps cool, which I think is a little out of the ordinary, but we caught some fish as deep as 25 feet of water this last week. Deep coontail, clumped up coontail patches. We caught a lot of fish doing that, but a lot of our fish were in that 8 to 16 foot range. That tended to be the sweet spot. Today, however, we caught our fish way shallower than expected. This isn't the exact rod and setup I was using, but it is the exact lure I was using because Benny wanted to fish the same thing. We did really, really well today and this weekend throwing mini max chatterbaits. Now, this is a smaller condensed version of the jackhammer. It's a smaller presentation. We used a smaller trailer, smaller blade, really stout hook, but that smaller presentation bladed jig really caught the fish the last 3 days. We could slow down, we could fish this a little more effectively. You can still get the same weight, 3/8 ounce jig head, 1/4 ounce jig head, whatever you want, but it's a smaller presentation, smaller profile, but it purrs just like the usual jackhammer. And this is actually the color that did the most damage. You got that white and chartreuse tail, gold bladed jig. We are seeing a lot of perch and bluegills running around the shallow water, and that is what it's imitating, just a small 3-4 inch presentation. And like I was saying, it's a medium retrieve. We weren't burning this thing, we were just purring it, just enough to see that thing vibrate. This is Ben's setup. Ben's using a 6'6" medium action rod. He's got a Corrado HG, just a standard Corrado on this, and he was doing well catching fish in this. He's actually tying direct to braid. I'm not going to say he did anything wrong because Benny caught some of the bigger fish today. I was using a 7-foot heavy action rod, 14-pound fluorocarbon Corrado DC on my setup, but this right here is Benny's setup. He caught a bunch of fish in this. Big smallmouth PB, big pike PB, right?
Yep.
Boom. Chatterbaits catching fish right now. Chatterbaits and even spinnerbaits, as the weeds start to die down here in September, are going to be a mainstay of mine for a lot of my bass fishing. Those chatterbaits are also how we caught our walleye today in shallow water. They were up there feeding on the perch, and guess what? They're an apex predator as well, and boom. I do want to talk about a jig that I kind of played with and designed this last week for this month's all-terrain jig of the month. This is actually released today. I see Brody eyeing it down. Do you want to take a bite out of this?
Yeah.
Brody says, yeah. This is a mighty jig with a finesse skirt. We all use the finesse jig from All Terrain. We all use the mighty jig from All Terrain. I took the mighty jig, I added a finesse skirt to this. This is kind of like a mini jig, right? So this is a 3/16 ounce chartreuse head mighty jig with an angry gill skirt. The angry gill has got some green pumpkin, a little bit of chartreuse, a little bit of a blue hue to it. Matches up really, really well. And what we're doing with this actual bait, if I have one here. Do we have a Comito over here, Brody, anywhere? Do you have one behind you there? I'll show you. You want to give me one of those Comitas? What color do you got over there? Green pumpkin?
No, I got the California 420.
That'll work right there. And I'm going to show you how we're fishing this jig of the month. And this caught some smallmouth for us today. It caught some largemouth for us today. It's a very, very effective presentation. Throw me that bad boy. So here's your Comita, your Senko, whatever it might be. And instead of putting the whole thing on, which you certainly can, and we talked about this last week, we fished this whole. What I'm actually doing is I'm taking a few inches, 2.5 inches off of this. Discarding that one, and I'm actually putting this back on this jig, and I'm going to show you why it's effective like this. It's kind of a Ned rig, jig worm, mini jig, finesse jig hybrid of jack of all trades, I guess you could call it. Throw that on there, boom. That's the tasty morsel we're throwing at these fish. This goes right down to the bottom pretty quick. It serves its purpose as a jig, as a Ned rig, as a jig worm. It's very, very versatile. This goes into a lot of different things from shallow to deep. And I picked the 3/16 ounce jig head just because of that versatility. And I like that chartreuse head, dark body. The contrast is a big thing, as anyone knows, around the area we're fishing. Minnetonka, Waconia, Prior Lake, even the Chisago chain, even on Coronas, that contrasting bait really gets bit. So that is this month's jig of the month from All Terrain that I helped design, that is actually catching a pile of fish and did a great job today. Make sure you check that out. You can go to allterraintackle.com, click on the jig of the month link, and that'll take you right to grab one of those. In fact, it's 2-pack for $4.99. 2-pack without the plastic, but it does have the mighty head and the skirt. 2-pack, $4.99. Pretty screaming deal, huh? Would you buy some?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brody says yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing this week. We are going to continue to focus on that late summer, early fall transition where I think the fish are just starting to trickle their way shallower. I'm not convinced yet that that's where they are and that's where they're going to stay. We have the Denny's coming up a week from tomorrow, so not Labor Day, but the following Monday. We'll see what happens. We got some more days on the water this week on Minnetonka, Chisago chain. We're going to see what's cooking. We're going to continue to chase largemouth bass. We're going to continue to see if we can get on some walleyes. We pitched everything today, Adam. We pitched Ned rigs. We pitched wacky rigs. Did we catch them on a wacky rig? Mm-hmm. Caught a bunch of fish on a wacky rigs up around docks. Brody and Ben were catching fish on the new Niku plastics. They were catching bluegills. You were catching perch. You were catching hybrid sunfish. You were catching largemouth bass. You were catching rock bass. What did I leave out? Catching each other. So having a good time. So this is the time of year where it's really comfortable outside. It only got into the 70s today. Looks to be a beautiful week, and away we go. Football's in full swing. We got football practices leading into football games this week. High school started this past week. Go Anoka. They got the W over Champlin Park on Friday. Well done. 1-0 Anoka High School varsity football team. Follow along with the football team. It's a great time of year to get out there and cheer on your local sports. So get out there, have some fun. Good luck to all the kiddos going back in school. Better luck to all the parents dealing with kids back to school. Get out there, have some fun, be safe. Let's enjoy the fall fishing bite, and let's go catch some more big ones. Hook sets are free. Have some fun, and we'll catch you next week.